Starting school is always something antsy about it. Except maybe for parents. I don't know. Parents, or I love the picture of the mother floating on a big float in the pool with a drink in her hand while the kids are on the side of the pool with their backpacks loaded up. She's ready to party while they go back to school. It's a frightening time for kids. It can be. New teacher. How's that going to work out? New school, possibly. New city. I know some of our kids are moving from Gulf Shore School to Alberta School this year. That's a whole different ballgame than just moving up a grade. You got to learn the layout of the campus, and everything is new. A lot of uncertainty. But there are certain things that are pretty standard at school, and that is that you learn and then you practice, right? The teacher teaches you how to make the letter A, put the little tail on it there, and then as a student you practice writing that A on your little paper with the dotted lines in it. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And then you practice the letter B and C and so forth. So you learn how to make the shapes, and then you practice that. You do the same thing with math. You learn sort of the rules of math, and then you start adding and subtracting and find the square root of 144 and put into practice what you've learned. It's that way in life. If you pick up a new hobby, you've got to learn the rules of that hobby. You've got to learn how to operate the woodworking equipment before you can make anything. If you're going to play golf, you've got to learn the rules of golf. You've got to learn how to swing, and then you've got to practice that. If you get a job, you've got to learn the way that job functions. So it's learn and practice, learn and put into practice. That's the way it is with life. And it's no different in the church. It's no different in the church. We come and we learn, and then we put that into practice. When we're little kids, it may be learning the Bible story, and then you color a picture or do some kind of arts and crafts, something to help you practice that. As we grow older, the biblical truths have more depth to them, and we learn what it is to love your neighbor as yourself, and then go and practice that. Practice that at work and at home and in the neighborhood, and that's church. Learning and then putting into practice what we've learned. Isaiah, an Old Testament prophet, writes that we are to learn to do good. Learn to do good. He's not the only one that said that. The Psalm says, trust in the Lord and do good. In the New Testament, in the book of Galatians, the early Christians are encouraged, don't grow weary of doing good. Notice that doesn't say be good. Learn to be good. Oftentimes that's what we teach folks, is just to be good. And when you go to Johnny's, you be good. Right? And maybe we make the mistake of telling our kids, if you want to go to heaven, you've got to be good. Do good. Do good. Not be good. Often what we teach, we learn what it means to do good, then we practice doing good. We practice and we practice and we practice, and we don't ever get perfect with it. We don't ever get great with it. We get better with it. We get better with doing good. We never outgrow doing good. There never comes a point in our lives when we say, I've done all the good I need to do. I don't have to do good anymore. Learn to do good. Just like we practice and practice and practice with soccer or video games or piano or cooking. We practice and we practice and we practice doing good. And the more we practice, the better at it we get. It becomes second nature to us. And all along the way, God cheers us on and encourages us as we go and do good. So what is doing good? It's about how we care for other people. In big, bold letters, Isaiah says, treat people fairly. Treat people fairly. That's what it means to do good. I don't know anybody who wants to be treated poorly. If you want to be treated poorly, raise your hand so that we know to treat you bad. No, none of us want to be treated poorly. Treat others as you want to be treated, the golden rule. How do I want to be treated? I want to be treated like a king. Lisa hasn't learned that yet, but we're still practicing on that. Good thing I'm deaf and didn't hear that. I don't know anybody who enjoys being called demeaning names. So to do good is not to call other people demeaning names. I don't know anybody who wants to get treated like they don't matter, like they're subhuman. I've never met a kid who says, I look forward to going to school tomorrow so I can get beat up by the bully. So doing good is treating others as we want to be treated. Whether it's other kids at school, people in the family, with decency and understanding and compassion. Do good. Do good. Treat people fairly. Now, fairness doesn't mean equal. And I've talked about this before. I always told the kids growing up, we will treat you fairly, but we're not going to treat you equally. Because equally means if I buy one pair of shoes, I've got to buy the other one a pair of shoes. For the same amount of money. That's equal. Fairly is you get shoes when you need them, and then you get shoes when you need them. And if you don't need shoes, maybe you need a pair of jeans or a dress or something. That's fairly. There's a picture I want to put on the screen. Equality means everybody gets the same thing. Fairness means everybody has access to opportunities. I don't know if you can see that very well. The picture over on the left, you've got three boys, thank you, you've got three boys. One's really tall, one's sort of medium, and one's really short. And they're all being treated equally, trying to watch a ball game over a fence. You see that? They all have a box on which to stand. Now the tall kid, the fence is hitting him about waist high. The middle kid, his head's over the fence. He can see the game. Those two can enjoy the game. Shorter kid's on a box, but all he can see is the fence in front of him. That's treating these three boys equally. But look at the picture on the right. The taller boy stands on the ground. He can still see over the fence and enjoy the game. The middle boy, he's still standing on his single box. He can see over the fence and enjoy the game. The smaller kid, he gets two boxes. And standing on two boxes, he's tall enough now to see over the fence and enjoy the game. All three of the boys get to enjoy the game. That's fair. That's fair. We understand fairness. Kids at an early age, studies have shown that children at a very early age understand fairness, that it's not really until they get more like second or third grade that they start really acting that out and understanding that and making sacrifices for themselves in order for other kids to be treated fairly. I've got 3 cookies, you've got 1 cookie. If I give you one of mine, then we both have the same amount. Somehow we tend to teach that out of kids. We understand fairness. You could have every kid at school be required to pay for lunch. That would be equality. Every kid pays $1 for lunch. If you don't have $1, you don't get no lunch. If you have $10, you can buy 10 lunches. That's equality. Fairness is saying there's some kids who can't buy lunch, so they get a free lunch. And some kids can pay 50 cents for lunch, and that's what they pay. And some kids come from families that have plenty of money. They don't need a free lunch. They get to pay $1. We understand that. We understand that. We just don't always practice that. Isaiah names 3 groups of people that it's often easy for us to overlook. The oppressed, people who have been exploited, people who have prolonged cruel or unjust treatment. He says, be particularly alert to treating them fairly, the oppressed. Some of you have been here long enough to remember Mike Anderson, who was the interim pastor here before I came. Mike's wife, Monty, went to Texas this week to see her son and grandkids. And while she was in San Antonio, she went with a group of Presbyterians to do humanitarian work at the border. They worked at Catholic Charities Respite Center. And the process was something like this. When people from Central America would come to the border, INS and ICE would do their thing with them and determine that, yes, they had whatever valid reasons for being in the United States. They had somebody who was sponsoring them. They had family here. They had a place to go. They had things lined up. And then those agencies would drop the people off at the respite. And the folks there, the nuns there, and volunteers, Monty was one of them, would then help them. And they would get their name in a computer, and they would phone family members, maybe in Chicago or New York or wherever, to let them know that they had arrived in the state safely and that they would be on their way. They had a station for them to go to get toiletries and clean clothes. They had a station and a line so that they could take showers and get cleaned up. And then they would stay overnight and then catch the bus wherever they had a ticket for. Or some family members had provided airline tickets so that they could fly to farther destinations. That is taking care of the oppressed, the downtrodden. We don't have that opportunity every day in that context, but we certainly have people who are oppressed that we need to be particularly attentive to. The second group, Isaiah says, is the orphans. Now, an orphan is somebody who has no parents. Both parents have, in the strict sense, both parents have died, and they are left without parents. That doesn't happen as often as it used to because of lots of reasons, safety at work and medicines and stuff. But they need particular focus. I like to take a little bit of license with that and talk about kids who maybe have not been orphaned, but have been abandoned. Maybe they're still in their homes, but mom or dad doesn't really care anything about them. They stay up, they do whatever they want to do, they don't have good food, they're not taken care of. They're not strictly orphans, but in a sense they are. Tyron was put in foster care when he was 2. When he turned 17, he was taken out of foster care and put back with his mother, who didn't want him any more at 17 than she wanted him at 2. He wound up on the streets, sleeping in the park, scrounging around for food. He went back to his old neighborhood and started knocking on doors, begging for food. And one door he knocked on, the woman not only fed him, she took him in and gave him shelter and made sure he got to school. She became a parent to him. She worked with her church down the street to make sure that he got a job, make sure that he graduated from school. He didn't have the basic things like a driver's license or a social security card. He didn't have access to his birth certificate. And the church helped him make that transition. I think that's caring for the orphan. Isaiah says, don't ignore folks like that. And the third group that he talks about are the widows. Timothy says that we need to be particularly attentive to the widows, and he understands fairness and equality. He says not every widow needs to be taken care of because her financial situation or family situation enables that. But to be attentive to those who do need care. I like to expand that, and I talked with this just a minute at the teacher's lunch Thursday, because this scripture was on the tags that we gave them. That it's being alert to people in single parent situations, particularly when it's mom and children, where mom is working full-time or maybe a job and a half, and we know in our society with women working, most of the time they do the same job as men but make less money. So mom's working, making less than if she were a man, trying to be mother and father, making sure the kids get baths, have food, get to play soccer. She washes the dishes, she mows the lawn. She's burning the candle at both ends. I was a single parent for a while, and I fully understand that 24-hour, 7-day-a-week responsibility. Emma was 12, turning 12, and her parents wanted to give her a birthday party. And Emma said, instead of getting presents, I want to do something for single parents because we've got a bunch of them in our school. The kids are in my class. So Emma planned a birthday party and invited the single parents and their children to come to the birthday party. Her birthday party. She had it all planned out. There were games for the children. There were crafty things for them to do, and every parent who was there, she gave a gift. Emma, on her 12th birthday party, gave gifts to all the parents who were there. It was a gift card, and in the card it said, 2 hours of free babysitting. What a gift. You can go to the spa and not have to worry about your kids. You can go to the grocery store and not have them tagging along, wanting everything on the shelves. You can go to a neighbor's house and take a nap. 2 hours. What a gift. Being attentive to those who are in need and treating them fairly. That's what Isaiah says. And Isaiah is not making this stuff up. Because all through the scriptures, we're told that God is on the side of the oppressed, the widows, and the orphans. So when we do good, we're on God's side. Thanks be to God.